Hey guys, how's it going? Today I want to start with an update on the bulbs in the cut flower garden. Then we have a couple of really exciting things to plant in the ground. It's a bit of a breezy day today. We had a system move in last night and it rained, which is wonderful. It's starting to sprinkle as we speak. And it's cooler today, which is kind of nice. I'm going to enjoy it while I can. But you guys, I am so beyond thrilled with how this whole experiment has panned out. I mean, just amazing. We've already come through and we cut all of the daffodils that were viable that one day that we came out and did kind of a mass haul. But they have since started to reflush, some of the varieties anyway. There's more of the Tompoos right here, which is the beautiful like apricot trumpet with the lemony yellow petals. The precocious have come a long way. I think there was only one bloom the day we came out here, and these are gorgeous. I think these might be one of my faves. There's a few of the accent right here, kind of the same thing. And then Dalnasa, another fave. Look at these. Oh, they are just the most fluffy and they're huge. Look at the size of that flower. I love them. More Bella Estrellas. Queen's Day is almost done. Flower parades, they've really come into their own too. Some of these really fluffy ones are a little bit later than the others. Look at that. Oh. There's more frosty snow, a few more watch up, but the tulips, oh my goodness, look at these. So this first row that you're seeing, those are all of the best tulips, the best series from Color Blends. In fact, all of these bulbs are from Color Blends. So we've got Best Purple, which I thought that these were gonna stay on the shorter side, and they've really grown up quite a lot. And Samantha and I came out here the other day and picked a bouquet of these along with some of the Purple Heart lily flowered tulips, so pretty. Most of these, minus the pink has been blooming the longest. Most of these have only been in bloom for like a day, maybe 2 days. So we're gonna get a bunch of these cut and delivered ASAP. But they last for quite a long time in the vase. And I wanted you to see what they look like once they had all opened up. They're just gorgeous. So Best Purple, the Best Pink, big, beautiful flowers. I did cut quite a lot of these. You can't even tell, there's so much color still, but look at the difference in the bloom size here. These are just enormous and gorgeous. Next one is the Best White. Those are looking very, very beautiful and bright out here. Then we've got Best Yellow right here. It's a very cheerful color. Then we've got the Best Yellow Red, which I think these are gorgeous. Look at that. Beautiful color. Then we've got Best Red, which those are very, very bright. And I do like red in the cut flower garden. I don't plant red in the garden in other places because I usually go toward more of a soft, more pastel color palette. But I love the colors, like all the colors, to be in the cut flower garden. And then this next row are the lily flowering tulips, which most of these, like these are just opened up yesterday. Most of these, if they have color, they opened up yesterday, and the rest of them are just kind of in bud stage. But the Purple Heart, beautiful. So you'll see that these lily flower types have more of a pointed petal. They're really like structurally beautiful. And then we have Verachik, which is just a very interesting looking tulip. Isn't that cool looking? Then we have Liva, L-I-V-A, which we've got a little bit of color on that one right there. It's not even open all the way yet. We have Inimitable, Inimitable yellow lily flower. One is open. We have Queen Rania. These are beautiful. I love that these open up like this at night, or during the day, and at night they're just completely tight. And then we have Blushing Lady, which is one of my faves. We have a whole bunch of Blushing Lady blooming up by our Persephone garden. But they're this really gorgeous kind of yellow, apricot pink. I think there's just a beautiful blend of color there. And then down the way we have Yume no Murasaki. I love this color. Like a purple pink. So beautiful. And then we have Marilyn, which is a white with a little touch of red. I thought they were going to have more red. This one does. Yeah. So they've got red striping down the petals. And then Anatolia. Those are bright. They're very pretty. Okay, and then our last row is full of doubles. First one is Wedding Gift, and those are fairly short and not quite ready to go yet. This one, you can kind of see what color we're gonna see here in a day or two. But you'll notice on many of these that one stalk will have more than one bloom. This one has 3 on it. This one has 3 as well. 3. This one only has 1. This one has 4. It's crazy. And then another one of my favorites, Akebono. I have these planted underneath our angel statue, and I absolutely love this tulip. So gorgeous. One of my favorite parts is this little petal on the outside that has a little green striping. I think it brings a little bit of extra dimension to the tulip. Some of them have a bit more color, like a little bit more of that red blush. Look at that one right there. So they all are a little tiny bit different. Then we've got Mount Tacomas, a fluffy white one. And these also, you'll find a little bit of green on the outsides. Yeah, this one's got quite a lot. They're just such a serene look. Then we have Rosy Diamond. Oh my goodness, look at these. Like perfection right there. So, so pretty. I'm looking forward to cutting all of these. And these also, you can see little babies coming up. And then we have Morris Goodenough. These are showy. Oh my gosh, and it's a blend. So some of them, look how big these are bright red. Some have the red yellow. Some are more yellow. And this one is very yellow. It's just really kind of a neat look. This one's kind of half and half. Look at that. Crazy. Then we have Averon, which are a little bit behind the others. You can see what color though. They're very close to the wedding gift, in pictures at least. I have Averon growing in another spot in our garden, and they're a little bit further ahead than these, which is kind of weird. But I'd never grown the wedding gift variety, so I thought it would be fun to kind of compare the 2 colors. And then at the very end here we have Finola, which kind of reminds me a little tiny bit of Angelique, especially when you get the ones that have a little more pink in them. They look so delicate. So that is how things are looking at the moment. So at this point, I think we could call the whole mounding compost over the bulbs instead of planting them in the ground experiment a success. Everything is grown, everything looks great. The weird part is, you know, I see a lot of comments about squirrels and things like that. We have squirrels. I don't know if they just didn't find this patch, but they were exposed all winter long, and we saw squirrels everywhere, and they were burying things in the other parts of our garden, and maybe there's just other things that are more interesting to them. Or maybe they haven't discovered this patch yet. But my goodness, I just love looking at this. So beautiful. There's one more tulip in this area I want to give you an update on. The rest of our tulips, like we have a ton of mentons and other things in our garden, are not nearly as far along as these. It's just weird, different areas of the garden where they will be blooming, and in another area they won't be yet. And we do plan on doing a full garden tour here very soon, so you'll probably be seeing these again. I just wanted to take the opportunity when it was overcast to get out here and show you what they look like. It's these right here. These are Lady Jane tulips. Look at how gorgeous these are. Little species tulips that have a really curly leaf. Look at that. And these tighten up at night like into tiny little points, and then on sunny days they open up really wide, like this wide, and they have, you know, the more pointy petals. But I just think they're the sweetest looking tulip out here. I just love them. I planted them in kind of this swoop garland formation. I'm not really sure even why, but I kind of love it. It's really pretty. And these I planted year before last. These also came from color blends. For these other bulbs in the cut flower garden, my plan is sort of undetermined at the moment. They will find a home in the ground somewhere, either here or at a friend's or family's house, probably a little bit of both. It'll depend on timing mostly. You know, these bulbs, we're gonna cut most of those blooms here today and tomorrow, most likely, but we need to leave the leaves up so that they can soak in the sunshine to gain energy and feed that bulb for next year's bloom. If I was to dig them up like right now, right away after I cut their bloom off without letting that whole process happen, it can disrupt the bloom cycle. You may not get a bloom the next year. It might be 2 years down the road. Next year they might just push leaves and then try to, you know, soak in energy with those and then prepare a bloom for the next year. But if you move them after they've died back, most of the time it doesn't mess their bloom cycle up at all, and they'll bloom for you next year as well. So it kind of just depends on other things. You know, I've got other plants started in the greenhouse that will be going into the cut flower garden, and yeah, so we'll just probably bring you along when we start working on that as well. Ooh, it's starting to rain harder. Thank goodness our first project is sort of undercover. Oh my goodness, look at this. Salvia and tulips at the same time. Love it. We are at the front of the house to work on our first planting project, which is this beautiful Japanese maple right here. But first, there are 3 other little areas I want to show you that have tulips in them. I feel a little all over the place today, but they're so pretty. First off, this little pocket. Isn't this just so bright and beautiful? We've got the big apricot tulips, which are these giant apricot colored, pink colored tulips. It looks like more of the Morris Goodenough almost tulips that we have out in the cut flower garden. I actually didn't plant those. I did plant the big apricots. The other ones were here. There's a little bit of mascari blooming in there. But let me walk over here to this yellow tulip just to demonstrate how huge. Look at that. That is a massive, that's like an 8-inch diameter right there. And these, look at how huge these blooms are. Oh my gosh. Also, right above them, this crabapple is about ready to burst. I mean, look at how many buds are on this tree. And they will look like this when they open up. It is going to be quite the show. It already is. It's so pretty. Okay, area number 2, right through here. So right around Persephone, it was year before last, we planted the Beaujolais mix, also from Color Blends. It's just a beautiful pastel blend, very Easter-esque. There is a lily flowering variety in here that I'm not sure what that is, what the name of it is, but isn't that pretty? And then there's this tulip here, pink with kind of the darker in the center. And then there's, these are so pretty. It's a double, kind of a creamy yellow with a pink blush, but the leaves are variegated with white stripes. They're so gorgeous. And then there's this little lavender, it's kind of like a lavendery silver color tulip, and I just am so thrilled. This is year number 2 with them. I'm thrilled with how thickly they came back. I mean, there's little spots where they're a tiny bit thin, but overall, the show is gorgeous, and tulips don't normally do this for me. Most tulip varieties just don't naturalize and come back as strong the next year. These definitely aren't as strong as the first year, but they are very strong, much more strong than a lot of my other tulip varieties that I plant. So when I saw them popping back through the soil this year, especially after we planted annuals over the top of them last year, I just didn't expect this. So it's just been a wonderful treat. Oh, almost missed this. There's like a smaller little pink one with a green stripe up the petal. Just so beautiful. And then the last spot I want to show you is around this new rock pathway. I think it was January, wasn't it, when we got out here? We had a nice little pocket of weather and we had extra tulips, and I was desperate to get them in the ground, so we just got it done. They're right up here. Look at these. So up here we have a mix of Blushing Lady, so a repeat of some of those that are out in the cut flower garden. You can tell I love this variety. And then I cannot remember the name of this one. It's Johann something. I don't know, we'll put it on the screen. But we had this mix in the 4 pots on either corner, all the corners of the Hartley last year, and I enjoyed it so much that I knew wherever these tulips ended up, I wanted them to be together because I think that they play off each other really nicely, the colors do. So we just came in here and sort of willy-nilly approached, planted them. We did kind of groups of Blushing Lady, little groups of the Johann tulips, and it just turned out really pretty. I love it. Okay, now back to the task at hand. In fact, before we even start talking about the maple, I want to show you what the area looked like this morning before Paul got after it. He really slicked it up in this area. I mean, everything that he was digging out, those were hollyhocks that had seeded themselves in this spot. And I love hollyhocks. In fact, I let them grow here for the last few years. It was a very cottagey, overflowing, abundant look. But we are about ready to do a big overhaul in this area. It is my goal to at least have a direction with this space by the end of the season. In fact, the gator is sitting on what will become flower bed. What our thoughts are, Aaron and I got out here with a can of paint the other day. We're gonna widen this flower bed, which was always the plan, widen this way out and connect this area in with that big area over there, which will include taking out a ton of sod up here, which I'm so excited about, and creating more stone pathways, more flower beds, that kind of thing, and less grass right in this space. And those hollyhocks were afflicted badly every year with spider mites. We just fought them up here, and then the roses would get spider mites, and it just was this thing every single season later on in the season after they had kind of done their big flush of bloom. So I'm kind of happy to have them gone, and Bethany's taking all of them home. They're all sitting in a gator in the back, and Bethany just got here, so they'll probably load them up in her truck and she'll take them home and plant them. But I think this maple is going to be perfect right here. It's a Tamukeyama. I hope I'm saying that even remotely close to how it's supposed to be said. Height 8 feet, spread 12 feet. It's a zone 5, and you can see it's just starting to leaf out, so those leaves will broaden a little bit, but it is a lace leaf Japanese maple, and it is a weeping type, which you can see based on its branch structure right here. This railing's about 5 feet tall because I'm 5'4". So we can expect the Japanese maple to fill in this space, I think, perfectly without pruning. So it'll grow up 3 more feet, maybe. Japanese maples rarely reach their full size here, but it'll fill up that and then hopefully just kind of fill in this space right back in here. And this is the south side of our house, but the overhang comes out far enough. I've been watching this spot, and I think that it's protected enough to keep the maple happy. And that's the other thing about Japanese maples here. They cannot take our full sun. Occasionally you'll see one planted in a sunny spot in someone's yard, and it's just like it hit a vein of something it really likes in the soil and it's thriving there. But most of the time Japanese maples just fry in our sun. This one and you know, a lot of the lace leaf are a little bit better at handling more sun, but I want this one to look really lush and pretty, and I think it's going to do that in this space. And I'm walking out here just a little bit just to kind of point out where the flower bed line might be going. In the end, I don't think you'll actually be able to see that Japanese maple like from the front view. You'll be able to see it from the side view. It'll be kind of like the secret little beautiful area tucked away in the back, because the flower bed's going to come out to about here, like all this in front of this Japanese maple, like all of this possibly. You know, we'll know once we start actually cutting out sod, but that's going to go. And then we are intending on bringing the brick walkway through here, just carrying on with that and connecting it. But then throughout this area, doing more stone, like flagstone, little stepping stones throughout, and just filling this up with beautiful things. And I think I might like to put like a weeping Alaskan cedar somewhere like right up in here, so that it's a very slender and architectural evergreen, and it doesn't really block the house much, but it blocks where the houses, the two versions of the house connect. The 1919 farmhouse and the 1980s addition. I'd love to not be able to see where they come together, because then maybe it won't look so, I don't know. You could just tell there's a definite addition. But we'll see what happens with that. You know, our ideas evolve as we get into projects, so yeah. Our goal for today is just to get that maple in the ground, really. And then this gorgeous Stillwater's Clematis that's about ready to bloom. That's going to be our last project for today. Okay, here we go. And there it is, all planted, watered in, looking so pretty in that little spot. And I was noticing while I was up here, well, first off, we've got a little hedge of Atlas roses that we will probably have to move, as well as this 9-bark, which has always struggled a little bit up here. So right now I'm going to go ahead and cut out any of the dead branches and any of those branches that have leaves that look like this, as opposed to leaves like that. So we'll just do a little cleanup on this and just make it look a little better. There, that looks a little bit better, even though this is probably not where it's going to stay, along with the, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at last roses, but I anticipate keeping the limelight hydrangea right here so that it balances out the other hydrangeas that are on that side. And then of course the Japanese maple and the grass. But the fun part about this flower bed is that we're going to have a shade flower bed and a sunflower bed. So we can fill in this area. I mean, imagine coming down the sidewalk and seeing the Japanese maple as a backdrop and then ferns and hostas and things like that. I think it's gonna be so beautiful. I also popped the 2 iron urns that were sitting here into the back of the gator. I thought we would try those in front of the Hartley. I haven't put containers right in front of it yet, and I think that they would look really pretty right there. Those were the urns that I had on the front porch when we were planting up real plants and watering them up there. And then when we got a hold of our faux topiaries that are doing really well up there, I swapped them out for some lower urns because the scale was better. But those are definitely too small to go right here. Okay, so let's go pop these urns after I give them a little hose down in front of the Hartley. I don't think we'll plant those today, but we are going to plant that clematis. Pretty. Those fit perfectly. I mean, you could definitely put a bigger container in front of a structure this size, but these fit on the stones on the outside and they're not too wide, so they're not going to get in the way of the door. They're not in the way of the cold frames, which our artichokes are rocking in these cold frames. Started these from seed last January, planted them in here very late in the season, and they really did well all of last season. They liked this location, but my goodness, we're getting fruit, and I'm seeing a random, what is this yellow thing back in here? Is this a ranunculus? Yes, look at this. We planted ranunculus in here last year, so this is a leftover. How fun. But most of these plants are forming up fruit right now. There's that one. That one, there's 3 on this plant, nothing on this one yet. That one's kind of small. And then on this side, kind of the same story. That one's a little small. Oh, yep, we got one forming up in the center right there. Another one there, and a couple, 3 on this one. Isn't that awesome? I can't remember what zone these artichokes are. I think the variety is Green Globe. They might be a zone 6, so they might survive outside some winters. They probably wouldn't have this winter. It got to -6 degrees. If we had them mulched up, they may have done okay. I've tried wintering them over outside with not much success, so it's just better if we can either bring them in. You know, we dug up some from the dirt lands and put them in the greenhouse, potted them up, and those had fruit too. In fact, I cut all the fruit and let my mom use them in her Easter arrangements along with some geranium flowers from in there and some other things from around the garden, so they looked really, really pretty. But anyway, it's fun to have a spot just to let these plants stay and just do their thing. We'll plant those urns another day, but I'm thrilled with how they look. And in terms of drip, what I can do, we've got a drip system set up for the containers on the corners, so I can tap into that and just run a line underneath the gravel right along the building. And I'll probably be able to use this little channel in the rocks, and I can pop it right under there up through the drain hole so that we won't see the drip tubes. And whatever we put in those, they're gonna need the water because that's the south side of the structure and it gets hot in the summertime, at least until these maples get big. Okay, now we're gonna tackle this clematis. I think this clematis would be beautiful planted on this little trellis right here. And I think it would also be beautiful to let some of the branches kind of roll around on the ground and provide some color. So let me show you the tag because it's got a flower that's bigger than the one that's about ready to open. Look at this, gorgeous lavender flowers. Now this one will grow about 4 to 7 feet tall, so definitely too big of a plant just to maybe put on a trellis like this, unless you're planning on letting it kind of sprawl around, which I am. And it's an easy keeper in terms of pruning. You just cut it back to about 2 feet every single early spring. So we can come in and just cut all the branches back to here, clean it up, and then let it do its thing again. But it can take full sun as long as the roots are shaded. But it's right underneath the canopy at this red point. It'll get some afternoon, a little bit of afternoon sun, but I think it will really like this location. Can't remember the zones, zone 5 through maybe 9. Yep, zones 5 through 9. I think I want to pop this up and plant it and then try to feed the branches up through the center of it. That'll be a nice, tender process. And there we have it. It's like the sun came out in approval of this new clematis in this spot. I think it's so pretty, and having just a little touch of something like this every once in a while in flower beds, I really like the addition of that. Not too much, but just a little bit. It just adds such a structure in there, and to know that that will still be here in the wintertime while everything else is sleeping, minus the boxwoods, it'll just look nice, I think. And I only broke one branch off the clematis, so I feel like that's a win. And I faced that bloom out front so we can really enjoy it when it opens up fully. And these tulips right below it, these are the Aberrons. So they're smaller than when I very first planted them bloom-wise, but that's the variety that we have out in the cut flower garden. So I had a big drift of like, I don't remember, 300 of them in here, and this is what it's dwindled down to. Still enjoy them. And then the Vidal mix. It's a mix of whites. They've gotten kind of messed up because we came in here with, you know, the rock border. We did some digging around in here, planting some perennials and things. So I've kind of eliminated some of the bulbs. That just kind of happens, especially if I go in with bulbs too early. I mean, ideally you plant your flower beds in order. You do your evergreens and bone structure plants, like your bigger things, your shade things. And then you go in with your larger items, like your larger shrubs, like big ornamental grasses, and then you do your smaller shrubs and then perennials and then your annuals and bulbs. And that way you're not digging around your bulbs to get your perennials in. I tend to do everything backwards though, but I still enjoy the color right here. And the Korean Spice Viburnum is in full glory back there. Anyway, that is gonna be it for today's project. Super happy with what we got done. I mean, just even putting a couple of things in the ground is awesome, but I really wanted to most of all give you an update on how the bulbs were doing out in the cut flower garden, just in case we missed it. Sometimes we miss the window when things are looking at peak, you know? So I just want to make sure to show you, especially on that project, because you guys have been so great about following along with that experiment to see how it would turn out. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.